April 15th, tax filing day. A 38-year-old investor opens his brokerage statement. He had a great year, up over 20%. Then he opens his tax return and sees a line that stops him cold. His taxable account generated $6,400 in dividend income in 2024. He owes $960 on that income, money he never withdrew, money he'd already reinvested. He didn't spend it, he didn't do anything wrong. He just didn't realize that in a taxable brokerage account, the ETFs you pick determine how much of your return belongs to the IRS, even in years when you touch nothing. And here's a part most people miss. That 0.64% annual tax drag is just the beginning. Run that same number out 20 years on a $500,000 portfolio and the gap becomes $665,000. Same market, same return, just a different set of ETFs. That's what we're fixing today. I'm going to show you 4 ETFs specifically built for a taxable account and exactly why each one earns its place in the portfolio.
Cost of ignoring tax drag.
Let's start with the math, because this is the part that puts everything in context. Take $500,000 in a taxable account. Assume a 7.5% average annual return over 20 years. With zero tax drag, you end up with roughly $2.1 million. But add a 1% annual tax drag, which is easy to hit if you're not thinking about it, your balance drops to under $1.8 million. Push that drag to 2%, and you're looking at just over $1.4 million. The gap between the top line and the bottom, $665,000. Not from bad picks, not from a crash, from taxes quietly working against you in the background. So the goal here isn't just finding good ETFs. It's finding the ones that keep your compounding as clean as possible. ETFs that earn well and don't send unnecessary distributions to the IRS every year. With that in mind, here are the 4. ETF number 1, VOO, the Foundation. The first one should surprise no one. Warren Buffett has said publicly that for most investors, the right move is to put 90% of your money into a simple S&P 500 index fund. The one he specifically recommends is Vanguard's, ticker VOO. The S&P 500 has averaged roughly 10.51% annually since 1957. That's across every recession, every crisis, every bubble of the past 67 years. And VOO gives you that exposure for almost nothing. The fund now holds over $1.6 trillion in assets, making it the largest ETF in the world. Its expense ratio is 0.03%. That's $3 per year for every $10,000 invested. You own 500 of the largest US companies in a single purchase. Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon. The top 10 holdings alone make up roughly 35 to 39% of the fund. Historically, VOO has averaged around 15% annually since its launch in 2010. A $100,000 investment from the start of 2017 would be worth well over $400,000 today. Now here's the tax angle. VOO's dividend yield is currently around 1.1%, and historically over 97% of those dividends qualify for long-term capital gains rates, meaning you're taxed at 0%, 15%, or 20% depending on your bracket, not at ordinary income rates. On a $100,000 investment, that yield generates roughly $1,100 in dividends per year. At the median tax bracket, the tax bill is around $165. That's a tax drag of approximately 0.17%. For a diversified set-it-and-forget-it foundation, it's hard to beat. ETF number 2, SCHG, the Growth Tilt. Now, here's where it gets interesting. If you're in the earlier part of your investing life, say under 45 with decades ahead, there's a compelling case for adding a growth tilt. And one of the most tax-efficient ways to do that is through Charles Schwab's Large Cap Growth ETF, ticker SCHG. SCHG tracks the Dow Jones US Large Cap Growth Total Stock Market Index, 197 holdings, 0.04% expense ratio, literally 4 cents per $100 per year. It holds around $59 billion in assets. Top positions, Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, carry slightly more weight here than in VOO, with tech making up about 45% of the fund versus 31% in the S&P 500. Here's the part that matters for taxable accounts. Growth companies reinvest their earnings. They don't pay dividends. So SCHG's dividend yield is only about 0.39%, roughly a quarter of VOO's. That means fewer taxable distributions hitting you each year. On a $100,000 investment in SCHG, that yield generates about $390 in dividends. Tax bill at the median bracket, approximately $59. That's a 0.06% annual tax drag, about 3 times cleaner than VOO. The trade-off is straightforward: more volatility. Growth stocks are more sensitive to rate changes and sentiment shifts, and there's roughly 50 to 53% overlap by weight between SCHG and VOO. So when you own both, you're not doubling up entirely, but you're not fully diversifying either. You're making a deliberate bet that large cap innovation compounds faster. Historically, that bet has held up, but it comes with bigger swings. ETF number 3. SCHD, the dividend income engine. On the other side of the spectrum, you have investors who want cash flow now, not just growth 20 years from now. That's where SCHD fits, the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF, ticker SCHD. SCHD tracks the Dow Jones US Dividend 100 Index, 103 holdings, 0.06% expense ratio. And as of 2026, it recently crossed over $100 billion in total assets, a milestone that reflects just how much demand there is for quality dividend income. What makes SCHD unique is its structure. It holds financially strong, consistently dividend-paying U.S. companies across consumer staples, healthcare, energy, and industrials. Only about 8% of SCHD overlaps by weight with the S&P 500. So adding it to a VOO-based portfolio gives you genuine diversification, not just redundancy. The current dividend yield is approximately 3.1%, paid quarterly, and historically over 98% of that income qualifies for long-term capital gains rates. Since inception in 2011, SCHD has averaged around 13.5% annually in total return. Here's the tax picture. On a $100,000 position with a 4% yield scenario, you'd generate $4,000 in dividends. At the median bracket, that's roughly $600 in taxes, a 0.6% annual tax drag. Higher than VOO or SCHG, but you're being paid for it with real income today. One scenario where SCHD gets particularly compelling, the 0% capital gains bracket. If your total income stays on the roughly $48,350 as a single filer, or $96,700 married filing jointly, approximate 2026 thresholds, your qualified dividend income from SCHD is federally tax-free in a taxable account. That's a remarkable outcome for anyone early in retirement or in a lower income phase. ETF number 4, QQQI, high income. And now the fourth one, the most misunderstood and probably the one that generates the most questions. You may have heard of JEPI and JEPQ from JP Morgan. These are popular high-income options-based ETFs. JEPI tracking the S&P 500, JEPQ tracking the NASDAQ 100, offering yields in the 7 to 8% range through a covered call strategy. But here's the problem with them in a taxable account. The majority of their distributions are taxed as ordinary income. At the top federal bracket, that's 37%, plus state taxes. If you're in California, these belong in a retirement account, not a brokerage. Here's what most people don't realize. There's a newer, structurally different version of that strategy, and it handles taxes in a completely different way. QQQI, the NEOS NASDAQ 100 High Income ETF, launched January 2024 and has already grown to over $13 billion in assets. Its current distribution rate is approximately 14.6% paid monthly. Two things make QQQI tax efficient in a way JEPI and JEPQ simply aren't. First, it uses index options on the NASDAQ 100, classified as Section 1256 contracts. Under IRS rules, these automatically receive a 60-40 split, 60% taxed as long-term capital gains, 40% as short-term, regardless of how long you've held the position. That's a structural advantage over traditional covered call ETFs. Second, distributions are largely classified as return of capital. In practical terms, that means roughly 97% of recent distributions are deferred. They reduce your cost basis rather than triggering current taxes. At worst, when you eventually sell, those gains are expected to be treated as long-term capital gains. So the high monthly income isn't taxed as ordinary income today. It's deferred, potentially for years. One real trade-off to acknowledge here, the 0.68% expense ratio is meaningfully higher than the other three funds, and return of capital does reduce your cost basis over time, which means the deferred tax bill grows. This isn't tax elimination, it's tax timing. For higher income investors in taxable accounts, the math tends to work in your favor, but understand what you're buying. And as for performance, QQQI's one-year total return through mid-2026 has been approximately 26%, even while distributing around 14.6% in income. The NAV isn't simply eroding. The underlying NASDAQ 100 exposure is still doing real work. SPIY, the sister fund tracking the S&P 500, follows the same structure, currently around $8 billion in assets and a distribution rate near 12%. So, how do these four actually combine? Here's a mid-career example, someone who wants growth but also wants income today. 40% VOO, Diversified S&P 500 Foundation. 20% SCHG, Large Cap Growth Tilt. 20% SCHD, Dividend Income and Value. 20% QQQI, Tax-Deferred Monthly High Income. From the start of 2025 through mid-2026, a portfolio like this generated an annualized total return in the range of 18 to 20%, roughly in line with just holding the S&P 500 over that period. But the income picture is completely different. On a $100,000 portfolio, you'd be generating approximately $4,400 in annual income, nearly 4 times what VOO alone would produce. And because of the qualified dividend structure and QQQI's return of capital treatment, the effective tax drag on all of that income stays relatively contained. If you're purely in growth mode, VOO and SCHG might be all you need. If income matters now, lean heavier into SCHD and QQQI. The allocation is yours to adjust, but the logic of each piece stays the same.